Yes.
But you also talked about buying a list that you carefully select.
Yes.
And then sending it.
Yes.
How do you sort of...
How do you rationalise that? Yes, so the question is, if you didn't hear, is we talked about the law requires that you have permission, but then I went on to talk about buying a list. Now again, it's the technicalities of this is that, strictly speaking, that if I go to, and I'd buy a list if I was going to buy a list, by the way, from a very reputable company, I'd go to an online list broker who resold lists that were owned by a company I'd heard of, Dun & Bradstreet, Experian, the AA, because when you're buying a list, they're warranting that the list is up to date, by the way, and checked for quality within the last 6 months. And if it's coming from a blue chip, I'm kind of assuming that that's probably more likely to be true. But if I do buy a list of 5,000 email addresses that came from Experian, those will just be people who used Experian services, went onto their website, bought their stuff, and in so doing did tick that box in the bottom which says, do you wish, we'd like to share your information with carefully selected third parties, is that okay? So that tick implicitly, technically, gives me permission in terms of the law to send them email. So I'm kind of covered that way, but I'd then be worried much more about how they're going to respond. So I've got legal permission, but what's that person going to think when my email turns up in their inbox and they weren't expecting it? And this is the thing, it's where did you get my address from? You know, and when people think you're trying to sort of creep around their spam filters and overcome their defences, we have a natural resistance to that sort of thing. So that's, I don't know if that answers your question, really. Yeah, you get the technical. Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
You talked about, you gave some data about unopened emails being deleted and things.
Yeah.
At what point is an email, if it's previewed, for example, is that opened?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yes, the email tools typically measure what opens and clicks, and then of course beyond that, if people click through to the website, what you can do is use analytical tools, and that the email tools can link in, for example, with Google Analytics, so you can see much more information about what happened to people that click through to your website. But yes, the open rates and the click rates, opens are a little bit confusing, because the way that this stuff works is that they're all HTML emails, so they're using web-based code, and when the email is opened, if the images are enabled, there's a pixel within the email that when it's presented or exposed, it calls down an image from the server, thereby notifying the open. So you're absolutely right. The open rate that the tool shows you is an indication only, because it could go either way, because if the email has just been exposed in a reading pane, yes, it would trigger as an open in the tool, and of course that doesn't mean anybody's opened it. They might have just ridden up and down the inbox and exposed it. It works the other way as well, in that if the open rate is 25%, actually there might have been more opens, because people may have opened it and read it but not bothered to download the images. So opens are a bit of an ambiguous guideline, and so for me I want to see a trend there. I want to see opens increasing. But what's really key is clicks. Clicks are king. Clicks are the things you want. So if there's a click, it specifically means that somebody has clicked on that link within the body of the email. So that's what I'm really focusing my attentions on. Yeah. Any more?
Oh, I think we did promise you they were going to be full of...
You did. You know they were tougher in Leicester than this. Cool. No. Hello.
When you talk about the clicks tools, and you say you just do a short message, so when you're actually writing the article, are you then doing two separate things? You're writing a bit of a synopsis. And
yes, you are in a way. If you can do that, that's the best way. So with a newsletter, yes, you'd write a sentence or two or three lines just to grab the reader's attention, and then at the end click here to read more. So yes, you're right. So I'm writing a template where I've got to write one thing, but then I've got to have my content somewhere else. So that content somewhere else may be already on your website, or what we tend to do is we just create a blog site, actually, just a WordPress blog or something like that you can create for free and publish your content on, and it's automatically interactive. Then people can comment, etc., and we just link through to the blog. So if you have a website but you don't have the capability or the access to your website to just generate the landing page content on your own website, you can do it on a blog site, or perhaps stream that into your website, or all the email marketing tools also have a facility for you to create landing pages that hold that content temporarily. So it's just about two things: getting the click, but also keeping the email concise and brief enough not to overpower and overload people. Communication time, really.
It wasn't necessarily
advocating this, but a long time ago I was an account manager for a credit card organisation, and it was direct mail, and they conducted a campaign where they mailed people 5 times in sort of relatively rapid succession, and so you get the initial hit, and then you've got this annoyance factor, I think, and people getting cross and angry, and it drops off very rapidly. But when you're getting around to sort of 4 and 5, it actually started to go back up again.
Right.
So people had, yes, it made them cross and annoyed, but the brand awareness was there, they were familiar with the message, and it almost turned, I think you have to be careful how you construct it.
Yes, yeah. It's quite a bold strategy, isn't it? I see what you're saying, but people are aware of you, but mainly maybe for the wrong reasons, and then it all comes good again. It's quite a risk, isn't it? But no, did it work? Did it work as a strategy for them? Yeah, interesting.
You couldn't believe they'd done it again.
Okay.
How if you bought like a list of 5,000, would you have difficulty sending it out to the sort of obvious people like MailChimp?
You would. You absolutely would. Yes. Some of the, especially the US-based email clients, because again their laws are so rigid. And if you sign MailChimp I like MailChimp. It's got lots of great features in it and things like constant contact as well. If you have an account with them, MailChimp is free, by the way, so you can have 500 contacts in your account every month and send them emails for free. But when you come to upload your lists into those tools, they'll say, where did you get this data? Is this permission-based data? Do these people know who you are? Have you got their permission? And they put the fear of whatever into you. And if you say, yes, I think. And if you bought a list, of course, they'll say, did you buy this list from a man in a pub or wherever? And of course, they frown on that because they are whitelisted, which is brilliant. So you do get better deliverability, but they need to protect that status. And of course, if their emails start getting spammed and bounced back, then they'll lose their reputation. So yes, it's a good point. And the US ones are the most rigorous for that because of the can spam law. But some of the European and UK ones and Australian ones perhaps give you a bit more flex. They're quite prepared to say, are you sure this is good quality data that's permission based? Yes, okay, come on in, But they'll be very quick to tell you. They'll monitor the bounce backs and they'll be quick to tell you if you're getting a lot of undeliverables, which is fine. That's what you want.
If you've got lots of potentially older addresses, and you wanted to check them, could you put kind of 1,000 through on that MailChimp set?
I'd be very. You could do, but I'd be very careful with that. I'd do it if it was a list that I'd built up of people that I knew that knew me. Maybe I've not, perhaps if we've not communicated with them for a few months or something like that. But genuinely and generally, I know they're good. I'd probably take a flyer on it. But if it was a bad list and I thought, I'll just break it down and do 1,000 a day, I think you'd still flag up. I think you would. Which is kind of good, It's not easy. I know it's not easy, but we don't want it to be easy, because if it was easy, then the spam people could do it as well. And it's all about harnessing and embracing best practices that help us to differentiate us as legitimate email marketers, if you like, from the spam people. So it kind of isn't easy, but I don't think it should be either, really. Any more? Is
there a size of list that would be classed as spam if you kept it below a certain number of recipients?
Not necessarily, no, because if you think about it, there are some. I mean, so you were mentioning that you were working with a company that was a credit card company, and when they did a broadcast, that there could have been hundreds or thousands or millions of people. So that the volume of email that you send out doesn't particularly impact it. It's the other things that are important: the reputation, the source, where it's from. So I would say not.
Invariably, when you're sending it out to people that you know, so you have effectively got permission, you are going to get bounce backs. You're going to get out of office bounce backs quite regularly.
But that's different. And
is that not classed as
no, the ISP can measure that.
The reason behind the bounce.
Yeah, they do, and they're looking at hard bounces, undeliverables where there is no, they can detect an out of office reply. They're looking at that sort of thing. They're looking at people have reported it as spam and all that sort of stuff. But it's a percentage, so if it's a percentage of 100 emails or 1,000,000, it's still a percentage, and that's what they're looking at. I know we're running out of time. I did start with a slide that had 20. I've just done a quick flyer if anybody's interested. These are the 20 principles I've put on, just a 2-pager. If you want to pick one up, you're very welcome.